You missed upon others.
Hello friends, hope everybody is doing well. Today I have a very special video for you. Today I'm going to be talking about the 2003 live action The Cat in the Hat starring Mike Myers, and the very possibility that it might actually be a cinematic achievement. And with a statement as fucking batshit crazy as that one, I know I had a lot of explaining to do in order for you to even think of me as being somewhat humanly sane, so I did some research. The film was directed by a man named Bo Welch, who I know for a damn well fact you have never heard of before in your entire life because this is the only feature film that he has directed. Although apparently he did direct some of the episodes from that A Series of Unfortunate Events, the new Netflix show, which I personally have not seen, but I've heard some pretty good things about it, so you know, cool. So yeah, as you can see, Bo Welch is not much of a directing guy. In fact, he's primarily known in the industry as being a production designer. The man has been the head production designer for several films such as The Lost Boys, Beetlejuice, Ghostbusters 2, Edward Scissorhands, Batman Returns, all three Men in Black movies, Thor, and motherfucking Space Chimps. Which actually makes a lot of sense when you watch the film referring to The Cat in the Hat, because, look, I don't mean to suck the movie's dick or anything, but the production design in this movie is fucking gorgeous. There's something that's really captivating about the world of the film, and I think a lot of that is due to just this really peculiar and elaborate production design, which is honestly one of the best aspects of the movie in my opinion. There were some really great set pieces in here, which created for just a very odd and idiosyncratic atmosphere and aesthetic. Even as a kid, I vividly remember exactly how this movie looks, and I think that's all because of the visuals and just the really solid production design that the movie has. The film has multiple writing credits, like all children movies and big budget blockbusters do. The three writers for the film are Jeff Schaffer, David Mendel, and Alec Berg, who are the three whitest dudes you will ever see. Now, I actually found something that's pretty interesting that all of these guys have in common, and that's the fact that all three of them have writing credits for the shows Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm, as well as the movies Eurotrip and The Dictator for some weird reason, which honestly kind of explains just the more adult jokes and undertones that are in this movie. One of the writers for the film, Alec Berg, actually co-created the show Barry with Bill Hader, which is an excellent show. If you have not seen it, I would highly recommend it. So yeah, I found that pretty interesting. And also Jeff Schaffer, one of the other writers for this movie, is one of the co-creators for the show The League, which personally I have not seen, but you know, I also found that to be a little interesting. Point being, the demographic for these movies and TV shows that these writers have all worked on are by no means meant for children. In fact, The Cat in the Hat is literally the only credit that all three of these writers has that is considered a kids movie. Hey guys, Jacob from the future here. Just tuning in to correct myself since I said that The Cat in the Hat is the only children's film that these three writers have been involved in, which is not true. All three of them were actually credited for writing additional dialogue for the 2004 film Shark Tale starring Will Smith, Jack Black, Robert De Niro, and Martin Scorsese. I believe they just wrote additional dialogue. I don't think they had anything to do with the actual story of the film. But yeah, aside from that, these are the only two children's films that these writers have been involved with. Also, has anybody seen Shark Tale recently? Did that movie even exist? Like, what the fuck is that shit? Anyways, here's Wonderwall. Which is kind of telling considering a lot of the jokes that they got away with in this movie, because wowee, what the fuck? But the most surprising credit that I saw for this movie is that it was shot by critically acclaimed cinematographer Emmanuel Lubezki. Now you're probably thinking either one of two things. One, why the fuck would Emmanuel Lubezki shoot this movie? And two, who the fuck is Emmanuel Lubezki? Well, I'll tell you. Emmanuel Lubezki is one of the most prolific cinematographers working in the industry today. The man has won 3 Oscars with another 144 wins and 79 nominations. This dude is not fucking around. Some of his work includes films such as Children of Men, Birdman, The New World, Gravity, The Revenant, Knight of Cups, Burn After Reading, Y Tu Mama Tambien, Ali, Sleepy Hollow, The Tree of Life, and The Cat in the Hat. Sorry. Speaking of A Series of Unfortunate Events, Emmanuel Lubezki actually shot the 2004 adaptation of A Series of Unfortunate Events, which is pretty interesting, and yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense, you know, it's a good looking movie. But yeah, the fact that Emmanuel Lubezki willingly signed up to shoot this insane anomaly that is the 2003 The Cat in the Hat just baffles me. As for the film itself, as you probably guessed, it has all the tropes and conventions of every, you know, beloved children's story adaptation produced by Hollywood. You got Mike Myers as the cat, who at the time was one of the biggest comedians working in the industry, who apparently signed on to do the movie because The Cat in the Hat is his favorite book in the world.
Cat in the Hat still is my favorite book of all time, because just the idea of it's fun to have fun, but you have to know how.
You have this super paper thin, although oddly self-aware script about two siblings who meet this zany character that makes poop and fart jokes and boner jokes who comes into their lives to have fun. But oh no, something, you know, goes wrong, and there's a super bland subplot of this next door neighbor asshole father figure who has just this unnecessary amount of hate for this little boy who wants to send him away to military school so he could fuck his mom. Like seriously, this dude wants to make this kid's life a living hell. This fucker wants the kid dead. I don't know why he honestly hates the boy so much. Like, yeah, he's a little annoying and unlikable, but goddamn, does this dude just want to strangle this fucking kid? Anyways, their fish just kind of starts talking out of nowhere. There's this elderly Taiwanese lady who suffers from narcolepsy, and then there's this giant 6-foot hairy Mike Myers who is really only there because he wants to bang their mom. There's also this really weird fucking scene that comes out of nowhere where the movie suddenly turns into an infomercial for a cupcakeinator, and then there's two hairy Mike Myers, one of them who threatens to kill the other cat on several occasions, and the other one is just wearing a fucking sweater. And then the cat introduces this crate of fun things where these, holy fuck, I forgot how creepy these motherfuckers were. Like, holy shit, why the fuck do they look? But oh boy, has shit hit the fan, because now the lock for the crate, it literally grows legs and walks away from the crate and attaches itself to the dog's collar. And those stupid fucking sleep paralysis demon motherfuckers throw the fucking dog out the window, and of course the dog runs away, and Alec Baldwin sees the stupid shit running across the street and decides to kidnap the dog so he can blame the kids for letting the dog out to their super hot mom, who will then ground Conrad for the rest of his fucking life. And that's basically how the movie goes. Although I will say, as much as this movie is just completely off its fucking rocker, it's honestly kind of funny. There were a lot of jokes and little moments in this movie that were just so ridiculous that it genuinely made me laugh, like, a lot. And then you have other jokes in the movie that are just so over the top with their adult humor and sexual innuendos that you can't help but to just laugh at how they even made it into the movie in the first place and how stupid some of them are. Like, you cannot look me in the face and tell me that there just isn't something fishy going on here. You know, that everything's fine and this is just another one of those Hollywood cash grabs that no, everything is not fine. This movie exists and we need to talk about that. There's also something about this movie that's just really unforgettable, I guess is the right word. Like, between just the really elaborate production design and at times really solid cinematography by Emmanuel Lubezki, there's something about this movie that's in a way kind of captivating, and it's one of those movies that you cannot forget about it once you've seen it, whether you want to forget about it or not. Which got me thinking, there's something up about this, you know, there's some fishy going on here. So I watched a movie recently for the first time in a while, and I don't know if it's just because I was high as fuck when I was watching it, but I had some sort of epiphany, an awakening, if you will. I watched this movie religiously as a kid. I just thought it was the funniest shit, and you know, as mentioned, there was always just something that I found really interesting about the production design and cinematography for this movie. And of course, after some time, I finally grew pimples on my face and hair on my nuts, and I became a man. So, I stopped watching The Cat in the Hat, you know, as all grown men do. I remember the first time I saw my first chest hair, I thought, oh, alright, guess it's time to stop watching The Cat in the Hat. So years go by. I'm a completely different person now, and you know, I always associate The Cat in the Hat as just being a total cash grab and has these horrible reviews. Like, people hate this movie. So I always just thought to myself, like, oh, it's just another one of those movies that I loved as a kid, but it would just do absolutely nothing for me as an adult. You know what I mean? But one fateful day, I finally decided to revisit The Cat in the Hat for the very first time with hair on my sack and everything, being fully aware that doing such a thing is commonly frowned upon. And revisiting this movie, there was just something about it that just, I don't know, it was really profound to me for whatever reason. I started to view this movie in a different light from everybody else, including myself, you know, and I started to think long and hard about the very fact that this movie actually might be kind of genius. And what I mean by this is there's just a particularly strange amount of self-awareness to this movie. And I just couldn't help but feel like maybe these people knew what they were doing when they were making this, and they were taking advantage of the idea of adapting a beloved children's book into a Hollywood cash grab and just going complete fucking gonzo with it. And yeah, after rewatching it, that would only make sense. So this prolific production designer went up to Emmanuel Lubezki and the 3 writers for Curb Your Enthusiasm and Seinfeld and said, "Hey, I have this crazy idea to create this experimental art film. I want to take a beloved children's book. So let's say a book by Dr. Seuss, since that, you know, that new Grinch movie just came out. And let's make it this incredibly self-aware commentary on children's movie adaptations that only exist to make a shit ton of money and to entertain infants as they shit their diapers." And everyone involved was just like, fuck yeah, I'm in. Like, I'm sorry, I can't live with the fact that the man who shot The Tree of Life, one of the most profound and existential films in recent memory, willingly agreed to shoot this thing and didn't think to himself once, like, oh, let's make this something a little bit more, you know? Like, no. Yeah, now of course the fucking lighting starts to work on my camera. Awesome, great. Let's fucking continue. The amount of satire and self-awareness I felt while watching this movie was just really bothering me. And then after researching the individuals behind this movie, I kind of thought to myself, like, it could very much be true that they were making a commentary on Hollywood kids movies and just how bland and uninspired a lot of them are nowadays by making this crazy satirical statement on such things, while at the same time also making it exactly like those movies in regards to its story and characters. The way that this movie just breaks narrative space to presumably do such a thing just only makes sense. Barely any of the jokes or humor in this movie are meant for kids, and almost all of them consist of just adult undertones and sexual innuendos. Hey guys, Jacob from the future again. Just wanted to bring up some other little details that I found to be pretty interesting that I did not include in the video. I was looking up some deleted scenes from The Cat in the Hat, and I found some pretty crazy shit, so I'll just go ahead and briefly explain what some of those are. There's a deleted scene in which the two things are trying to prevent the mom from coming home to buy some more time for the cat and the kids to clean up the house before she gets home. And by doing this, Thing 1 and Thing 2 block the road by causing a flood. And by doing this, Thing 1 drinks a mountain of water bottles to build enough piss in their little fucking bladder to create literally a flood of piss to prevent the mom from coming home. You think I'm joking, look this shit up, it's real. There's another deleted scene where the cat proclaims that it's shower time and continues to lick himself, you know, which is whatever, you know, it's not a big deal. But then he proceeds to lick himself in a place that I am forbidden to say in a video regarding a children's film. The cat is then seen lifting his head up, you know, with his tongue out and everything, implying that the sick fuck enjoyed it, whatever the fuck he did. And yeah, I can completely understand why this shit did not make it into the movie. Lastly, there's another deleted scene where the two kids are sliding down a driveway and the cat is right behind them and he just... look at this shit. Fucking look at this shit. These guys gave no fucks when it came to making this motion picture, and I think these scenes just further prove my theory that their goal here was to not make a faithful adaptation to a children's book, but rather make what can only be described as a satirical commentary on such movies. They were deliberately trying to sabotage this entire production, like, no doubt in my mind. Case closed. Also, look at this image of what appears to be one of the cat's prosthetics that was used in the film. Good luck sleeping tonight. See ya. With its over-the-top crude humor and just uncomfortable amount of sex jokes, this movie is so self-aware that there's even a joke in this movie where the cat literally stops the movie only to advertise Universal Studios. And yes, this is a Universal Pictures film. In the book, the cat is most known for his rhyming, you know, that's his whole thing, that's his whole shtick. Whereas in the film, when the cat is first introduced, he states that he is not good at rhyming.
I got nothing. I'm not so good with the rhyming. Not really.
Which goes completely against the magic and personality of the character in its source material. The stakes in this movie are so fucking low because everything in this movie is so over-exaggerated and fantastical that literally fucking anything can happen in the world of The Cat in the Hat 2003 starring Mike Myers, that at the end of the film when the all hope is lost moment happens because the house is completely trash and their mom was planning on throwing a party for her work, the cat leaves and then immediately comes back with the fucking Antichrist as they clean up the entire house using this big contraption and the day is fucking saved. Like, the writing in this film is so fucking bland and soulless that you can't help but to think that there had to be some sort of satirical approach and intention with this entire movie. And I mean, if that's what the movie's supposed to be doing, then bravo, I guess, because it kind of worked. This actually kind of reminds me of another film that does something very similar, and that film is Freddy Got Fingered. Freddy Got Fingered is a movie that was made by Tom Green, who was basically approached by these Hollywood producers, and they were like, hey, we saw the Tom Green show and we think you're really funny and your show has been getting a lot of attention, so here's a couple $1 million, why don't you make your own movie and we give you complete creative freedom? And Tom Green said, alright, deal. And he basically came up with this idea where he wanted to make the worst fucking piece of entertainment possible by making a movie about a guy who is trying to get some money so he can make the worst fucking piece of entertainment possible. And he ultimately succeeded. Tom Green intentionally made a really terrible movie as an experiment to see what people would actually go to see this movie and how they would react to it, as opposed to just making another normal narrative film. The movie is riddled with scenes that cohesively make no sense at all, with this incredibly stupid and juvenile humor that only an 8-year-old would find funny, including inside jokes such as the entire plot of the movie, as well as this little joke towards the end of the movie where a woman in the audience literally holds up a sign saying, when the fuck is this movie going to end? Tom Green made this experimental project where the goal of the project ultimately succeeded by getting horrible reviews and getting people to go see this movie. In other words, Tom Green made what I would personally consider to be a cinematic achievement, since his goal has been met. And I might be losing my fucking mind, but I think this might be the same exact case for the 2003 The Cat in the Hat. I thought about this long and hard, I calculated all the math in my head, and this came out to be the most plausible solution as to why this movie is the way it is. But there is only one problem. There is not enough scientific evidence to prove my hypothesis. I did some research, I looked through interviews of all the people involved in this movie, and unfortunately I could not find any information on this theory, thus making it unsolved. However, I still think my theory remains pretty strong in thinking that The Cat in the Hat is actually a cinematic achievement. If you want to find out for yourself, I would highly recommend revisiting this movie. Like, this movie is an absolute fucking trip. Not only due to its nostalgia, but its overall really odd and self-aware nature. Like it or not, there is something about this movie that kind of makes it stand out from other children's movies in this category, seeing how vastly different it is from everything else in regards to its overall humor and tone. And the fact that Emmanuel Lubezki was involved, including a pretty prolific production designer as well as some writers for what are considered to be some pretty highly acclaimed sitcoms, kind of shows you that there is at least a little bit amount of effort put into this movie. And the fact that it was also directed by a production designer who really put a focus and emphasis on creating a genuine visual eye candy, which made for this really bizarre and insane odyssey into madness with such a colorful and unique world, along with some equally colorful and unique characters, as bland and paper thin as they may be. Look, all bullshit aside, I really don't know what to think about this thing. I really don't. This movie is fucking wild in every sense of the word, everything about it. But I also kind of loved it, and at times kind of found it to be a genuinely really funny experience. At the end of the day, I don't know what their intentions were with this movie. I don't know why the fuck Emmanuel Lubezki would sign up to do this movie, even though he was already a pretty prolific cinematographer at the time this movie was released, and there was really no reason for him to make this movie, you know, unless there is some sort of special significance to it. Everything about this movie is a fucking trip, and the fact that it even exists just baffles me, and I can't believe there aren't more people talking about this. Like, why the fuck aren't there more people talking about this? I'm sorry I don't have any answers for you guys, you know, I tried, but there's just too much ambiguity going on here for me to come up with a clear answer. For all I know, I could be 100% wrong, and this could just be another cash grab that got made, and you know, the filmmakers behind this had no intention of just making another typical Hollywood kids movie. But like I said, watch it for yourself. I'm genuinely interested to hear what people have to say about this movie now, and I wonder if this is something that would end up garnering some cult status. It honestly kind of is already garnering a lot of cult status, because I do see a lot of people talking about this movie, and I have seen a lot of memes of this movie too. And you know, people only make memes of something if it is uniquely remarkable or memorable in some way, no matter how good or bad it may be. So maybe I'm not the only one. Who knows? But anyways, overall, I'm going to give Mike Myers' The Cat in the Hat a 10 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I love and appreciate you all, and I will see you guys later.